Welcome to episode 100 of the Journey to Legacy podcast. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Wayne Veldsman. I am your host. And if you're new to the show, if you don't know me very well, I have been in the digital marketing space for about the last decade. But since about 2014, I've been strongly focused on the personal development space as well after a really intense accident happened in my life. It really shifted my entire mindset to who I am today and what I focus on. And by the end of today's episode, I hope to have shared just a little bit more about my journey so far, what legacy means to me, what I've learned after having interviewed almost 100 entrepreneurs. Some of them are multi millionaires. Others have been brand new business owners, including some CEOs and executive directors of nonprofits. And so I want to share a little bit about what I've learned, what one big key lesson is around what legacy actually means to all of them and to myself, and hopefully just give you a little bit more holistic view at who I am as a person. And so just once again, I just want to thank you for being here. If this is your first episode you've listened to, thank you so much. If it is your 100th, I greatly appreciate you. I wouldn't be here without your support. And just want to say thanks. I truly appreciate it. Everybody, if you weren't familiar, I originally immigrated to the US from South Africa, having been born in Pretoria, South Africa. My parents immigrated us to the US in about 1999 when I was 6 years old. And I grew up in a family, in a household that wasn't entrepreneurial per se. My parents had both owned their own businesses in South Africa before I was born, but growing up here in the US, they worked seemingly regular jobs. My dad, later in my life in high school, would start up his own business again. And I share this just to tell a little bit about sort of the seasonality of life. Life is hopefully and typically actually pretty long. We have time. You're never too late to make a big pivot in life. My parents were in their 40s when they uprooted their entire lives from South Africa and moved us to the US. They moved us here to give their kids a hopefully better life, a shot at the American dream that we get educated and be safe and make the most of our lives. And as I say, it's just interesting that they owned their own businesses at one point. Then they pivoted to working somewhat regular 9 to 5 jobs and then pivoted back to entrepreneurship. And so take that as a lesson that wherever you are in life today, you can make change happen. Never too early, it's never too late, right? It's all happening the way it needs to be. And so I grew up in a low to middle income household. I remember times when my parents were so money stressed that I would see them crying, worried about how they were going to make things last. But it always ended and was led with love and positivity and gratitude. And I was raised in a very Christian household that instilled values in me that I still hold today that I'm so thankful for, so blessed and grateful for that I really can't express them enough. My overarching being is an extremely positive one, and I'll share some stories with you shortly and what's developed that. But the true basis is thanks to my parents, the household that I grew up in, and honestly, thanks to God and Christianity. Those are the values of who I am today. And I'm so grateful to be able to share that with people. And so growing up, like I said, it wasn't a huge entrepreneurial household. I did the classic lemonade stands and mowing of lawns, shoveling some snow and selling magazines door to door for our school. And so by no means was entrepreneurship instilled into me. And today I run two different businesses primarily, one being a digital marketing agency focused on helping the nonprofit industry to raise awareness and actually raise more funds online, being a digital marketing agency. And the second one is Journey to Legacy. It's an executive coaching and an entrepreneurial coaching company where we help instill a lot of values into people, teach them about life's purpose and meaning, and help them to keep moving forward in their own personal development, developing their businesses, and thus helping to actually develop others and leave a meaningful legacy on this world. And so, although I wasn't raised in an entrepreneurial household, I was raised with really great values, which is what transitioned into who I am today. So, a lot of what we do at Journey to Legacy as well is focused around communications coaching. I was fortunate that in high school, I got to go to a specialty mass communications school. Mass communications was all about news broadcast and journalism, communicating to the masses. And this is sort of where I learned actually that a lot of storytelling is super important for communications. I learned to practice and to start before we're ready. One of my teachers actually taught us to ask for forgiveness instead of permission, meaning a lot of times you just start, get going. And if you end up upsetting somebody along the way, or if you do something that somebody else doesn't approve of, you can apologize. You can ask for forgiveness, but don't let a theoretical critique or upsetting of someone hold you back in your life. Just start. It's better to ask for forgiveness and permission. And when it comes to business or entrepreneurial ventures, don't wait for permission. No one's ever going to give it to you. No one is going to tell you you're ready or you're good enough. You have to tell it to yourself. And so simply get going. I was very fortunate that I found communications early on in my life and in my career, and I found the importance of it while I was learning and practicing mass communications and news broadcasts. Some of my friends would often tell me that I was a great storyteller or that I had a voice that could be really good on TV or on radio. And so this kind of gave me a push to keep going, to keep moving forwards. And so after high school, I decided to keep studying communications into college as well. Growing up, I was taught that if you don't go to college, essentially you will be homeless. I think my family really just wanted me to be educated. My parents wanted the best for me. And so knowledge and education and getting a college degree was seemingly the path forwards. Today, I have a much different belief, and maybe it is because of the internet and technology, that I don't believe college is necessary by any means. Everything that I do today, digital marketing and personal development wise, I didn't learn in school or in college. Even my communications coaching and consulting, somewhat, I guess I took those classes, but the vast majority came from postgraduate education and YouTube University, reading blogs, watching videos, and now asking questions of people, finding entrepreneurs or business professionals that I want to learn about their industry and then interviewing them about it and learning from them. So I greatly believe that sort of formal education is not needed anymore, but I am fortunate that I went that direction and it actually helped me a lot communication wise. I believe that I'm going to push my future kids to go to college as well, simply to learn about people, how to interact, the social aspect, which end of day is a lot of the communication aspect as well, and the sheer importance of it. So, started studying communications journalism in college. This is actually when I got my first introduction to entrepreneurship, where I helped to launch a clothing brand called Campus Casual. We were focused on developing college apparel using schools' colors, not just their logos. A big lesson here was actually giving your audience and your target market what they want, right? Actually doing surveys, listening, and then developing products based on that. A lot of times in entrepreneurship, people come up with an idea or a problem that's simply just in their mind. They don't actually go figure out if it is in their customers or in an audience's mind. And that's a super, super important piece of the puzzle. If you can learn, honestly, one thing from this episode, this is a great takeaway. Learning something about marketing right now, it's to put your audience first. Survey your audience, or just go simply out into Facebook groups or into online forums like Reddit or Quora. Go see what people are talking about. What are the questions that they're asking, and develop solutions or products around that. Don't come up with fake problems. And so for Campus Casual, for the clothing company, we heard people saying that they don't want to just have the logos or their school name plastered all over their apparel, but they still want to support the school. They still like the colors, the sort of soft support. And that's why we developed this company. It was my first taste really into entrepreneurship and into the marketing and online world as well. And I did this simply by reading blog articles, by watching some YouTube videos. This was 2014, 2015, that time period. And so it was still super new, super early. And so I just had to learn for myself. I took some time off of school and developed this company. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. At the same time, one of my friends saw a huge trend going on that was actually those two-wheel self-balancing hoverboards. We launched a tech company called Vengati, where we found a distributor from overseas and a manufacturer from overseas that could actually put our own branding on the boards and sold these and actually made a pretty big profit, grew really quickly. And that I was much more of a support in this business. But man, we learned to see trends. Once again, if you can make it about your audience, right? And trends is what people want. What trending is what people are talking about, asking questions about. It's an audience expressing a need, not you just coming up with an idea of a problem that might exist. So make it all about your audience. This was a really great introduction into entrepreneurship while I was still learning all about communications in college. And then a really big turn happened in my life, right? In college, like a lot of people in the US, we were very party heavy, very drinking culture heavy. And unfortunately, one night the summer before my senior year, I fell off of a two-story building and got a life-threatening accident. I was unconscious. I don't remember falling off the building. My friends say that they believe that I had just fallen asleep. It was late at night. We'd been drinking during the entire day. We were up there summer nights. I fell off of this two-story building, and after getting rushed to one hospital and then airlifted to a second, I woke up the next day with a neck brace on, tubes down my nose, tubes down my throat, and my wrists strapped to the bed. They do this because apparently, when you are kept in a medically induced coma and you have tubes down your throat, your first reaction is to yank them out. And so my wrists are strapped to the bed. And I remember opening up my eyes in sheer confusion about where I was. I essentially couldn't move. I was in so much pain, and I see my family coming into the room, and I immediately start bawling, crying because of shock and confusion. And I was so scared. And then the scariest moment of my entire life happened was when the first words that I heard coming conscious, neck brace on, tubes down my throat, my arms strapped to the bed, was, "Can you wiggle your toes?" This is one of those this is one of those moments where your life flashes before your eyes. They were asking me, can I wiggle my toes to test if I was paralyzed or not? This moment lasted only for a second, a millisecond even, and fortunately, I was able to wiggle my toes. I wasn't paralyzed, but I was in really bad shape. I had broken 17 bones, including three of my vertebrae. I had a minor concussion, and I had a long, long road of recovery in front of me. Everybody out there listening, we don't realize how precious life is, how fleeting it is, that any day, excuse me, we don't realize that any single day could be our last. We have to make the most of it. it was really during this accident and during this recovery period where I learned gratitude and just how precious life is, and that we must work to develop our lives and focus on personal development, that we only have one shot at this life. We must make the most of it while we can. I actually remember that it's probably about a month, 2 months into my recovery. I had been bedridden. I was at my parents' house and I was just so sick and tired of having to rely on other people for help for everything, for getting dressed, for making my food, that I decided to tell my parents, listen, I feel like I'm recovered enough. I am going to go back to my college town, to my apartment that I have there. I can be self-sufficient. And it was a couple days into being back alone where honestly, it was probably not even a couple days, where I realized that I wasn't ready, where I was putting my pants on and I was in such sheer agony and pain, breaking down, crying, that I had to realize that it's okay sometimes to rely on other people. We all need help. Again, we go through different seasons of our life where, at least for me and for a lot of people that I think listen to this show, it's we are so focused on personal development and on growth and on helping others, but it's okay to ask for help, to need help, to be vulnerable. And that's the stage of my life that I was in. And it was such a wake up call and such a lesson that I learned that I'll never forget that time. That I'm so fortunate that my parents were okay with coming to get me. I could not drive, absolutely. They had to drive to my college town to pick me back up after just a day or 2 days earlier. They had come and dropped me off. And again, they helped me to get better. And I'm fortunate that today I'm basically back to 100%. It took me about I don't know, 6 to 8 months of recovery time until I was back on my feet, causing trouble once again. But guys, this accident taught me so much just about personal development, and I steered into it hard. I realized we only have one life to live. Let's make the most out of it. So I graduated from college. I got a sales job, right? I learned most about communications, and sales is a lot of communications. And I got a cold, door to door, cold canvassing sales job, is what I call it. Essentially, they gave me a map and they said, go walk into every single business in this map, in this area code, and go try and sell them. I was selling T-Mobile phone services at the time. Never in my life did I imagine that you could go into somebody's business where they're trying to sell you something and you sell them instead. This was the toughest job I have ever had. I believe the toughest job that I will ever have. There were days where my anxiety was so intense that I basically locked myself in my car. I couldn't motivate myself to get out and go knock on another door, go walk into another business just to get yelled at, to be said no to 50 times a day. It was so difficult, but it's the number one job that I would recommend to everybody, to my future kids. The amount that I learned in that time, especially that don't take things so personally, right? This wasn't personal, it was business. I was there to sell a service. And yeah, well, I upset some people. I was going into their businesses. They're busy, they're stressed. But yet, at the same time, I would walk into businesses and people would be so happy and thankful that I was there because I was actually delivering a need that they had. I learned so much in this business. But about 6 months in, I decided that I'd learned enough and it was time for me to move on. It was just too intense. And you know what happened was that I was so fresh out of college. I didn't have a lot of money, right? I was living in a really small apartment with three roommates, but fortunately, I had a car. So I recognized that I could sign up to drive for Uber and do that on my own time while I was applying for other jobs and interviewing for other jobs. I think a lot of people believe that driving for Uber is a lower class job or a petty job. But everybody, I'm here to tell you that don't be afraid to take a step back or a step sideways if it's going to propel you into your future. I was honestly so fortunate, and I remember having a lot of fun driving for Uber. I even kept resumes in my glove box, and I would chat up people, a lot of times picking them up from the airport, business professionals, and I would chat them up and I would give them my resumes. That actually got me job interviews. So make the most out of things and don't be afraid to look look like you're going backwards for a little while in life because you know that it's a pivot to get you to where you really need to be. Who cares about what other people think about you or are saying behind your back? They're honestly just expressing the own things within themselves that they're unhappy with, right? Then they talk about other people instead. They're really just jealous that you are making change happen where the majority of the world and population is doing the same thing day in and day out. They're all just robots in the matrix of life that are afraid to make change happen. And by you taking a pivot to set yourself up for future success, it scares other people. So that all they can do is just judge you. So don't care about what they think. Focus on yourself. For me, taking this step back, driving Uber, starting to apply for other jobs, little did I know this was going to set me up for the rest of my life. I managed to get an interview for a semi established startup, or excuse me, it was a very well funded brand new startup. I talked my way in to landing a marketing job where the owner and the chief marketing officer of the company had interviewed me. Just below him was one individual that was seemingly someone new to marketing as well. And then it was me right beside him. Everybody listening, I didn't take marketing classes. I have a communications degree, never took a single marketing class. Up to this point, I'd never had a single marketing job. Yet I talked my way into this position. The power of communications is, is just so important to note because I was listening in the interview and not just answering appropriately, but I was asking questions in return around what's most important to them. Their ideal candidate that they hire, where do you see them starting? Where do you need the most help? And through having just a human to human interaction where I was listening and engaging the other individual as well, we formed this bond and this trust where despite him seeing on my application, on my resume, I have no marketing experience, he decided to hire me as well, or anyways. I jumped into this position full force. I was absolutely in over my head. Later on, my friends would tell me that I had a 40-year-old man's job while I was sitting there, a 23-year-old kid right out of college. I was managing the social media, the website, writing blog articles, editing videos, running online ads, doing, in my mind, everything that was needed to push the company forward. Whereas little did I know the position that I was really hired for, I mean, I was managing about $150,000 a month marketing spend. I was busy developing a partnership for the company with the rapper 2 Chainz, which was a perfect brand match. But yet, my lack of experience was ultimately my downfall. About a month in, I hear that the district manager of Red Bull was being brought on and hired. And man, I was so excited. I was so excited to finally have somebody to learn from that had a lot of experience. Not just that, from a brand like Red Bull. I'm a huge action adventure junkie. I love sports and being active. And I was going to get to learn from this woman that had so much experience and knowledge. And she was actually going to be able to give me direction on what I needed to do. Because at this time, the owner and the CMO, He owned something like 40 businesses. He had no time for us. We were having to be self-sufficient despite us not really even knowing what to do. We had the company's vision. And like I said, I was just trying to stay above water. I was coming in working on Saturdays. It wasn't asked for me, but trying to do everything and anything I could. So the district manager of Red Bull gets hired, comes in, talking to her every single day, learning as much as I can. And it was probably only about 2 days that she was there, where the next Monday morning, everything changed. I was completely blindsided, where I get brought in to the human resources office and they say to me, Wayne, we're so sorry. You've done absolutely nothing wrong, but we probably should never have hired you. So my communication skills ended up almost being my own downfall, where I was hired based on a great conversation that I had, and I was convincing to bring me into this position. Where now they were saying, "You've done nothing wrong, but you're fired anyways." I don't know if anybody out there has ever had this experience before, but in the US, you can essentially get fired for no reason at all. For example, in different countries, it's a lot different, but in the US at least, when I just learned this, when this experience happened, I was hit by a train, is what it felt like, blindsided, being fired, where they literally tell you you did nothing wrong. What happened to me in this moment is I realized that I better take control and responsibility for my own life. If you can be fired for literally the words out of their mouth is you did nothing wrong, but you're fired anyways. Guys, a guaranteed paycheck is not guaranteed at all. I have a colleague that's been on the podcast a few times that has shared to me that when his kids asked him, Dad, are you why don't you have a job? Dad, why don't you go get a job? Like mom says that you're crazy. What's going on? Why are you doing this thing called entrepreneurship? He explained to them that, well, why would he go get a job that he gets one paycheck from? That if he loses that one, he has nothing. Versus as an entrepreneur, a business owner, he lands multiple clients where he gets multiple paychecks. And if he loses one, he still has others to fall back on. I absolutely love that mindset. And I didn't think that way immediately when I got fired from this job, but for some reason, it just hit me that I need to take matters into my own hands. So security walks me out of the building. I get into my car. I drive off of the premises. And the first thing that I did is I pulled over, whipped open my laptop, started my hotspot, and I still had access to the company's files and cloud storage and database. So I started saving as many things as I possibly could. In my mind, these were all great examples and templates of a seemingly pretty successful startup business that I could now model. I remember calling my parents that day, letting them know that I had been fired, but it wasn't anger. I wasn't even that sad or upset. It was this strange clarity that I'm now going to take matters into my own hands. I'm so happy to say that I've never looked back since that day, that I truly now work and strive to take care of myself and to strive for freedom and to strive for responsibility over myself. There's been so many times where I want to get another job. I've put applications in to jobs thinking that it must be easier. It must be an easier road or route to go that, yeah, well, so what? I won't have the time freedom that I have now. Well, maybe it'll just be, a little less stressful. But I'm so blessed and thankful that even after some interviews, I have never gone back. And despite sometimes it being more stressful, having to be self motivated is not easy. But everybody listening, it is so worth it. take matters into your own hands. Take control of your own life. Because little do you know that guaranteed paycheck, those golden handcuffs, those handcuffs could be taken off at any moment. That guaranteed paycheck is not guaranteed. Take it from me. And so please start to take action in your life today. Take action for yourself before it is thrust upon you like it was thrust upon myself. So after I download all those files, I get home and I'm trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do in my life now? I was scrolling on Facebook, I think after probably putting in maybe a couple other job applications, just worried, concerned, what do I do next? And I found someone that was actually talking about learning digital marketing. Right. I just come out of a marketing job. So I had a little taste of it. And my past business ventures with the collegiate apparel company and Vengati, the tech balancing hoverboard company, I had learned a little bit about websites, about selling products online and blogging and videos, and even advertising. And now this opportunity was presenting itself to me to say, this is the way. At this point, we are in 2017. And the internet is super established, but online advertising and online business and marketing is still somewhat new. Somebody's telling me this is the way, and for some reason, I decided to make the biggest investment of my entire life. I open up a new credit card and pay $5,000 for a coaching mentorship program to learn digital marketing. I studied and I studied and studied, and I decided to launch my own marketing agency. At this point, I actually partnered with another individual who was doing about the same. He was maybe 6 months ahead of me in the process. But when we decided to partner, we blew up rather quickly. He was an extremely driven individual. His motives were much different than my own, where I wasn't as money hungry as he was. I was younger than him and new to entrepreneurship. He was new to entrepreneurship himself, but he had a little bit more life experience and just extremely money motivated. Not, and I was not as much. But either way, we blew up very quickly. What was the trick? Is that we actually partnered with an organization that had all of our ideal customers. And this is a huge, huge, huge takeaway. So please listen here, is that if you're starting a business, define your ideal target audience and then go find a complementary business, multiple ideally, that already has your customers, but they're not doing the piece of the puzzle that you want to do. They're not providing that service. For us, it was online digital marketing, websites and advertising and social media. The company that we partnered with was teaching sales to, again, our exact same audience, our ideal target audience. And so by partnering with them, we were bringing a piece of the puzzle that was super needed. Marketing and sales go hand in hand, but it was a missing piece of the puzzle. We were instantaneously the trusted source for marketing in an organization full of our ideal customers. And so we simply just provided a ton of free value, just giving tips and tricks every day, answering questions for free. And then as we more and more started being seen as the experts, everyone turned to us when they didn't want to do their own marketing. And we blew up extremely quickly. It was right at this time where I actually launched my first podcast. Podcast was called Work, Grind, Hustle. Because when I first jumped into entrepreneurship, this is what I believed it took to be successful. I believed that this is what it took to live a happy and a meaningful life as an entrepreneur is work and grind and hustle from sun up to sun down. I started with podcasting because it was really the least barrier to entry. I had a laptop, I had a phone, they have microphones in them, and so I could simply hit record and I was off to the races. I started the show really as almost a video, or excuse me, as an audio blog and diary around the journey that I was on. Little did I know that the evolution of the show would turn into a focus on just that journey. That I would learn that entrepreneurship isn't about working and grinding and hustling, and that life and happiness and purpose and fulfillment isn't about work and grind and hustle, but it is about the journey. Probably no, it's almost 4 years later is when the rebrand happened to Journey to Legacy. And it's after so much of this focus around personal development and just continuous learning online and from others happened that I saw what life's purpose was more about and that we must live it day in and day out, trying to help others. And through that, we help ourselves, and that the journey is what it's all about. So, our digital marketing agency was crushing it. It was for about 2 years where we were growing pretty steadily, where we had a huge boom and we turned into a seven-figure, multi-million-dollar company. I was making the most money that I'd ever made my entire life, yet something wasn't right. I wasn't fulfilled. As I mentioned earlier, my business partner was super money driven, seemingly fulfilled. I wasn't. I was very unhappy where I was living with my situation. And after expressing to him that I needed to make a pivot, I needed to move for my own mental well being, well, unfortunately, we didn't see eye to eye. And so I decided to leave. I moved across the country out to Colorado and I made a huge pivot in my life. Instead of focusing on business and entrepreneurship simply to make money, I wanted to become a lifestyle entrepreneur. I had freedom and I had control of my own time. And so I pivoted to now starting to help the nonprofit industry, which is what I still do today. But I decided that I could make money while making a difference. And at the same time, I don't need to hustle and work and grind from sun up to sundown. I can set up my life strategically to be able to experience it. We only have one life to live. And as I mentioned earlier, little do we know, it's fleeting. It can be taken away from us at any day, any time. I fell off of that roof on one gorgeous summer night. Not a care in the world, but little did I know that my life could have ended just hours later. Everybody out there, please understand that you need to be so grateful for your life that you have today. I actually have an alarm that goes off on my phone every single day at 2:17 is what time that it goes off right now. I change it every couple of weeks or months. And it simply just says, take 10 seconds and be grateful. And most days, the first thought that comes to my mind is, I am grateful for my feet and for my legs and the ability to walk. It probably stems back to my accident. After that, I'm grateful for the ability to make choices in this life, for freedom, which stems back to when I got fired and decided to become an entrepreneur, which is meant to be. And so through gratitude and through just being so thankful for this life that we get to live, that's what I decided to do. I decided to not make it all about work, to not work every day from sun up to sundown or even from 9 to 5. But multiple times a week, I would go snowboarding for the first half of the day. I'd go adventure. I'd go on hikes and other activities and just experience life. Because there's this concept that people say that if you seemingly lock yourself in your room or in the basement for 2 to 3 years and just head down, focus, grind, that you can financially set yourself up for the rest of your life. This is a great concept, but what if you are 2.5 years in to this grind? Sure, things are just starting to take off, but next thing you know, a plane crashes out of the sky into your house and kills you. Was it worth it? Or would it have been better off to live those 2.5 years in a balanced state? In a balanced state where you're working to still set yourself up for the future. Because if you're like me, yeah, I'm making the assumption that I'm going to be here for a long time. I plan to live to be 120 years old. But at the same time, I'm living my life as if I might die today. I might not finish recording this podcast episode. Little do I know. So let me make sure I'm doing the things that make me happy, that make me fulfilled, and I'm experiencing life while I can. So this was a really great time in Colorado, hiking a ton, snowboarding a ton, helping nonprofits to actually, I was making an actual meaningful difference, which I'm so thankful to say I still am today. I decided then to start traveling a little bit. First, it was down to South America for a little while, and then pivoted actually to moving back to where I grew up originally, where I'm from in South Africa. And that's where I still live today. But during this time, I'm still so focused on personal development that I'm learning from reading countless books. I'm running the podcast, learning from other entrepreneurs. And there's only one scripted question in the entire podcast. And it was during this time, this little interim few years, while I was focused on being a lifestyle entrepreneur, that I realized that the journey is what it was mostly about. But at the same time, I started getting this concept around legacy. What does legacy actually mean? I think to a lot of people, including to myself in the beginning, legacy was all about money. It's, oh, what's the money you leave behind? Or, oh, let me develop this billion-dollar company and leave generational wealth to my kids. Or legacy is, oh, I want my name to be on a skyscraper. But no, that's not at all what it is. That's the concept that I had had in my mind. And so the one scripted question still today, it started sort of by accident, but it's asking my guests, what does legacy mean to you? And what is the legacy that you want to leave on this world? And little did I know that probably 95 to 99% of my guests would not talk about money. They would talk about the legacy that they want to leave is a meaningful difference on this world, mostly consisting of inspiration, that they want to inspire others. It's consisting of emotion, how they want to make other people feel that when they're not around, but when they're thought of, that's what the legacy is, right? You're gone. It's once you're gone, what are you remembered for? It's helping other people. It's inspiring them to do more. It's being kind and positive and actually helping humanity. Legacy and focusing on the journey is what I'm all about today. And it was really interesting to me that actually on a podcast a few months back, and go check it out. It is with, oh man, now the name's going to escape me. Dr. Rob Kelly. I want to give him a huge shout out because him and I see so eye to eye. We talked about this concept of the ripple effect. And that I expressed to him and he expressed to me that we want to help billions of people in this world. Most of the time, we're impacting individuals one on one or in small groups. And so it's very difficult to impact billions of people. But through the ripple effect, that's actually how you can make a huge, huge, meaningful impact and leave a legacy on this world. That when you help one person to see the world differently, when you inspire them and motivate them to do more with their life, they then start to inspire and motivate others. And that person then starts to inspire and motivate and spread positivity to others. And it ripples from one person to the next to the next. And so in your life, ask yourself this question. Do you think that you're making a big impact? If the answer is no, I dare you to change your perspective. That little do you know, through the ripple effect, you're making a much bigger impact than you know. And I hope that it's a positive one. Again, evaluate your life day to day. How positive of a person are you? How motivating, how inspirational are you? Or are you mostly being negative? Are you mostly complaining and gossiping and talking about other people? What are you spreading? What message is rippling out and away from you? I want you to evaluate that. And if you need to make some change happen, please do. And please come to us if you're looking for help. That's what we're here for. And so throughout this entire journey, I changed the podcast name to Journey to Legacy. That's what we're focused on. I'm also focused on just learning from others. I've now interviewed almost 100 different entrepreneurs, learning from them what's most important, what these struggles and the challenges that they've overcome, the lessons that they've learned throughout their life. A lot of the similar things that I'm sharing with you today about the struggles that I've been through, the challenges that I've overcome, the lessons that I've learned, and similar to everything that's happened in their life. That's why the show is so focused on telling the stories about entrepreneurs, not just telling you about what their business is that they're working on today, because there's so much more that goes into it, right? We aren't just our job title, right? Don't let that be your being. When someone asks me, what do? I typically answer, I'm really into surfing these days. I really like to go on a lot of walks. I read a ton. And I really just focus on positivity and gratitude. What about you? What do you do? And it's funny because, of course, that question about what do you do, they're asking, what do you do for work? Right? But why are we assigning who we are to what we do for work? That's such a small piece of life. And now, after having asked multi-millionaires, as well as executive directors of nonprofits and brand new entrepreneurs, what is legacy? What does legacy mean? What is the legacy they want to leave on this world? It does not have to do with work. They don't say what their job title is. They talk about the feeling that they want to leave on this world, the inspiration they want to leave on this world. So everybody, that's what I'm still here doing today. And that's what I want to help you do. That is my whole purpose. What I believe my mission in life is to spread helping people to be more focused on the feelings that they leave. They say that, people won't remember when you're gone. People won't remember what you did. They'll remember how you made them feel. That's what it's all about. So today, as I said, I'm focused on two businesses mostly. First one is called My Digital NPO. It is still the digital marketing arm of our company where we're helping NPOs, nonprofits, to raise more money online and raise more awareness for their cause online as well through website development, email marketing, social media, pretty classic online marketing stuff. But my bread, my butter, my passion, my life's mission is around Journey to Legacy, where we are a personal and professional development, mostly executive and entrepreneurial coaching company, where we're helping individuals like you to find their purpose in life, to find fulfillment in life, and make a meaningful difference and a meaningful impact. I actually heard a quote today in a other podcast that I'd love to read for you here if I can find it on my screen. It said that purpose is not found within you. It is found between you and others. So that's what Journey to Legacy is all about. Helping people to help people. I'd love for you to come join us. Everybody, the legacy that I'm working to leave on this world is one of positivity. It's one of personal growth. It's one of meaningful impact. And the last thing that I'll leave you with, because it sounds like it could be tough and challenging, right? How do you how do you live a life of purpose and of meaning, right? Positivity, personal growth, meaningful impact. It can be really hard, but let's just simplify it down. Here's my challenge that I'm going to leave you with. So I want you to focus on just 4 simple pillars day in and day out. If every day you can accomplish growing just these 4 pillars, I believe everything else will take care of itself. This is what I do. This is what I teach people to do. And so I'd like you to do as well. Those 4 pillars are mental, physical, financial, and spiritual health. I'll say them to you again. I believe that every single day, if you can check these 4 boxes, everything else will take care of itself. It's mental, physical, financial, and spiritual health. Our mental, every day, focus a little bit on your own development. Read, listen to podcasts, have open and honest discussions, emotional discussions with other people. Develop your mental self. Physical, go on walks. You don't need to go to the gym and weightlift like what I do, but take care of your physical health. If you don't take care of your physical health, there's some sort of quote that says, if you don't make time for your physical health, then uh, your health or your sickness is going to make the time for you. As in, if you don't take care of your body, your quote unquote, your temple, you're going to end up getting sick, or you're not going to be able to do the things you need to do to make a huge difference on this world. Take care of your physical. It doesn't have to be anything big, right? And physical also goes along with what you eat. Financial. Every day, put time and effort into building your financial health. Something, right? On your phone, contact some more prospects. Start up a new company, right? Also, just go look at your finances, right? What do they look like? Invest into your future. Put time and energy into growing your financial health every single day. Doesn't need to be huge, but do it every day. And lastly, you're spiritual. Everybody out there, if you don't know, I am a very Christian man of God. And this has happened, thankfully, my whole life, but I've really only found him again over the last few years. And I'm so blessed and grateful. I want to ask all of you all to focus on your spiritual health as well. I'm not here to tell you what to believe, what to do, but take care of your soul, of your being, right? It matters a lot. If you think about your intuition, your subconscious, the way you think, the way you feel, your gut feeling that you have happen, I believe a lot of times that is God speaking to you. And if we don't take care of our spiritual health, if we don't take the time to even learn, right? If you're out there, if you're not a Christian, so be it, whatever you believe in, if you don't even know, take the time to learn. Take a couple minutes every single day, focus on developing your spiritual health as well. If you check all 4 of these boxes, I tell you what, depression and anxiety, they go out the window. The question of fulfillment goes out the window. The question of, do I matter? What am I doing in this world, right? Am I going to make it? It all goes out the window. And so, everybody, thank you so much for being here today. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Episode 100 of the Journey to Legacy podcast. Man, when I say it now, honestly, I'm just so excited about it. I made a commitment to myself finally a few months back to take this thing seriously. It's been years. As I mentioned, I launched my first podcast in 2017, and I never took it so seriously to commit to making it a way of being, a way of my life that I can share what I'm up to and to share lessons with others. And I'm so happy that I am here today doing this for myself, but then doing it for you as well, right? For even just a handful of people that listen to this episode, or the hundreds, and I know actually thousands that listen to this episode. I'm just happy that hopefully it can make an impact on you and it can ripple out to others as well. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, my name is Wayne Veldsman. You've been listening to the Journey to Legacy podcast. Please come check us out over at journeytolegacy.org. Join our journey of leaving a meaningful and lasting legacy on this world. Peace.